Welcome back to the Shooter's Resource Channel. Today we're going to be looking at a 1911 government model. This is the A1 model from a company called Tisas out of Turkey. They make a lot of different 1911 variations, and this one only MSRPs for $400 brand new. So it's a very inexpensive offering. We're going to see how it holds up against the rigors of one of my regular training sessions where I'm practicing for competition. But before we get started, go ahead and take a second, hit that like and subscribe button. I greatly appreciate your support. Tisas is a Turkish company, and they were formed or established in 1993. But they didn't introduce their first 45 cal pistol until 2007. So, it took them a little while. This is essentially a replica of the original government model that was used by the U.S. Army. Now, this gun, honestly, for a MSRP of $399, is just an amazing value. It's shot and handled really well today. Sometimes with cheaper 1911s, you can run into some reliability issues. Well, this gun has got about 300 rounds through it now, and it hasn't had any failures. So it's really impressive to see such a low-priced gun coming out of Turkey to perform as well as this one has. But, it comes in, obviously this is a very low-cost option, so it comes in just a cardboard box. You get the basic information spec booklet about the firearm, as well as a cleaning brush. You get a loaded chamber indicator, and you get one 7-round magazine. In the testing that I performed today, though, I ran 3 magazines with it. I ran this 7-round Metgar magazine that came with the firearm. I ran an 8-round Wilson Combat magazine. And I also ran an 8-round Dan Wesson magazine. All 3 functioned properly. I was really pleased to see them include a Metgar magazine. Obviously, Metgar has a renowned name in the world of magazines, so I would expect that that'd be a really good magazine, and it's painted to match the firearm. Now, if you look at the 1911 here by Tisas, it's kind of an odd color. It's somewhere in between a gray, but it's got almost a greenish tint. The color and coating on it, it has a little bit of a cheaper look to it. If you compare it to other firearms, such as this Dan Wesson, the bluing on here is pretty nice. But, this is more of just a painted coating. And the grips, they are plastic. However, they're functional. They get the job done. They're just a plastic brown. If you guys aren't familiar with the 1911 platform, this is a government model. And you notice that it has, kind of a minimalistic safety on it. But I find this safety works fine. It works perfectly well. It sticks out just enough to engage. So I don't have any problems running that safety. It also doesn't have a beaver tail. And that did give me some problems. I noticed immediately after shooting it, I have such a high grip, and I grip the pistol so, tightly, that this immediately started cutting me. Within the first magazine, I had blood drawn from this traditional grip safety. So I definitely would be swapping this out for a beaver safety if this was my gun. And by the way, this is a gun that a good buddy of mine loaned me, so I really appreciate that. Any support I can get from the channel really helps quite a bit. But that would be one thing that I would change, is swapping this out to have, a more beaver tail grip safety like you see here on this Dan Wesson A2 model. The other thing on the government models is they come with a very rudimentary sights. And, they don't really do a lot for you. I mean, they definitely will align, and you're going to be able to shoot accurately with these sights. But they're not as good as, some of the modern day 3-dot sights, or the blacked out rear and fiber optic front sights that you see on a lot of other pistols. But it was able to get the job done. I will say that these sights did slow me down in terms of being able to make hits on target at a fast pace. It does take longer to line up sights like this, especially because I was shooting at black targets, so there was no real contrast against the targets. But what I found is I was really working more in using indexing versus my sights, meaning that it was more of a point and shoot for me at this range session. I did incur quite a few more misses because of that. All right, next up, let's talk about reliability. This pistol in its first 300 rounds has been extremely reliable. We've had no failures out of it. And, most 1911s require a break-in period or something to that effect. But this gun right here cruised right through it. No malfunctions to speak of. The slide on this gun is really smooth for such an inexpensive gun. It does, at least this particular gun feels like glass. So that's really nice to have, especially on this gun that's not very expensive. Now, if you look in terms of reliability and longevity, if you look at Tisas' site, you'll see that they conduct several tests to make sure that this is going to hold up. That includes a cold test where they put it in negative 27-degree temperature for 12 hours, and then they do what they call a burst test or burst mode firing test. So I imagine that's some rapid firing to make sure that the pistol functions even after it's been brought down to negative 27 degrees. And then they do the inverse in a hot test where they bring it up to 131 degrees over a 12-hour period, and they do the same burst test. They also have a salt test, drop test, high pressure and hardness test, and many more, and they kind of cover those details on the site. But it just shows that they put it through some rigor to show that it is able to hold up to most conditions that you're going to put it under. When it comes to performance, the Tisas 1911 government model performed flawlessly. The accuracy was really good. Now, like I mentioned earlier, speed was impaired a little bit by the sights, and I could shoot it very fast up close, and that was with me indexing. But when I tried to shoot it faster at, let's say, 15 yards and out, I ended up running into problems because, I really couldn't distinguish the front sight from the rear from the target. But, I was still able to make it work, and I was able to get really good, I guess what you would call combat or practical accuracy. But, again, if this was my gun, I would have it milled out for normal sights as well. The trigger on this gun is pretty exceptional, especially for the price. So on their website, they advertise it right at 5.5 pounds. I would say this particular gun feels less, definitely less than 5.5 pounds. The reset on it is very short. So that allows for really fast follow-up shots. And just the travel overall is very short on this pistol. So the ergonomics are really great with the 1911 overall. I mentioned earlier the only thing that I had problems with was the grip safety itself in terms of it cutting my hand. But other than that, I felt like, the ergonomics were perfect. The front of the grip is smooth, and the mainspring has the vertical serrations, which is the same as my Dan Wesson. It also has a smooth front with vertical serrations on the rear. So no checkering on this firearm, but I never had a problem with the grip. I felt like I could hold on to it just fine. If you're in the market for a replica of the 1911 A1 government model, then you might want to check out Tisas. They offer a great value here in a fully functional firearm that shoots accurately for less than $400. Tisas also offers several other 1911s that have more upgraded features and are a little more modern than the A1 version. They've also got several polymer guns chambered in 9 and 380 and 45 as well. So check out their website. You might be surprised to see all that this Turkish company has to offer. If you see one of these in your local gun shop, you might want to grab it up. And if you haven't already, go ahead and take a second. Hit that like and subscribe button. Support the channel. Thank you all, and God bless.